This laptop may be very appealing to you. Maybe the brand or the size, the functions that it can perform, what it can do, what it can't do compared to others, maybe even just the gateway to possibilities of what can happen with something like this. It may appeal to you depending on what kind of person you are. We all have different things that grab our attention and grab our interest that would make us want to talk to somebody with that or relate to them in some way. Maybe you have something like that, or a device that's a little bit different, but something that connects you to that. Everybody is different in their connections. We have all been in a situation where we've been in a classroom that it has been hard to make connections because there's a lack of connection personally or individually. It's hard for our minds to concentrate, and it's hard for us to focus on what's being taught. I have observed many different classroom settings, and they're all different than the last, which is a good thing because each teacher brings something different to the table. They have something new to offer. So this teacher is not exactly like this teacher. They're all different, and that's good because personally we are all different than other students in the classroom. It's hard to make some connections like that, and what we're going to look at in the next few minutes is ways that as a teacher and an educator we can make those connections with our students that are going to push them towards success in our class and then in their overall goals as to why they're pursuing an education in our class. So some simple steps that we're going to look at are 3 today. We need to recognize who the audience is, relate to the students that are in the audience, and then encourage the goals that are set before the students. First, we've got to examine the audience. Recognize the audience. We have a class filled with many different students, and the reasons why they're in that class are going to vary from student to student. There are things like age, desires of why they're taking a class that are going to vary, and goals. Even maybe this class is just a stepping stone to reaching a goal. By recognizing your audience, you can learn why they're taking that class and see the possibilities of how you can appeal to them individually, making a personal connection. In a group, if it's just a small group of different people, or it could be a large university group of students, there are going to be individuals in that class, but you can find an overall way to relate to the students, some way to form a connection just to them as a whole, as a big group. So by recognizing the class, you're able to see who's in your class, who's making up that group, and then you can appeal to what appeals to them. Relate to the students is number 2. You've got to create some kind of curiosity. Everybody has things that kind of intrigue them, like maybe that laptop intrigued you, maybe it didn't. Everybody has things that get them, and by creating curiosity, that curiosity will challenge the mind. That creates something in somebody that makes them want to seek out more. So having that curiosity, that challenge, is going to drive students to continue to figure out and to learn in your classroom setting. Find common ground and use that to your advantage. Make a personal connection, or maybe sports. That is a big one in America. Activities such as canoeing or outdoors. Maybe you're in an outdoors kind of educational class, making a personal connection with every person in there and using that. Maybe even it's struggles. Maybe it's a classroom or a small room filled with people that are trying to work through different struggles that they have in life. That is something you can use as well. In adults, you can use things like social media. They are either good at it or they're not. But either way, it can be used as a connection. It can be used as humor, even in the lack of connection that's there, depending on the age, maybe not. Kids, they a lot of times like to be outside or learning through activities, not just sitting still. That's a huge connection. There's always a way to relate to your students, and the key is finding that way to relate and then using that to your advantage and ultimately to their advantage so that you push them towards success. When we realize what is driving our students, that is going to help us to remember or to remind them to work hard towards what their goal is. Third, we need to encourage their goals. Each student has different goals. Some of them could be small. It could be a student needing to graduate from 3rd grade so they can move to 4th, so that ultimately they can graduate school. That's a big deal. It might seem like a small step, but it's a big, very important step. We can all agree to that. But all goals are ultimately the reason they set out on their journey. Once you know the goal of the student, you can encourage their hard work to push them towards that. For example, if you have an adult who has already gone through school but they're wanting to gain a 2nd language or a 3rd language, you can remind them of what their goals are, why they set out on this journey in the first place, and then remind them of the possibilities that come once they reach this goal, the doors that will be opened, all the things they can do, even if it's just very personal goals of accomplishment. That's a huge deal. By realizing their goals, we can encourage that, and that is going to press people on. Encouraging can go such a long way, and it is necessary to drive us to reach our goals. So just as my computer, the laptop, may have or may have not intrigued your mind just for a minute, maybe you saw it and thought, oh, it's a Mac and she looks young, and I don't know, if you're young and you saw that, that could be a great connection. You may not know what kind of computer it is, and then that's a lack of connection, okay? But it could have appealed to you for many different reasons. Whenever we find ways to appeal to our students, to make those personal connections, to help them reach their goals, these are things, simple steps that we are taking to push them towards success, which is ultimately our desire as educators. So the 3 goals to remember: recognize your audience, relate to your students in a personal level, and then encourage their goals, encourage their success, encourage them to drive on. These steps will change your impact as an educator. So today, my question for you is, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to today, I want you to decide to do this. Decide to make a difference. Decide that your students are worth it. Decide that you want to help them reach the goals that to this point they have only dreamed about. Decide to be that kind of educator.
Okay.